That Smollett is in the courtroom right now after entering with his entourage, his supporters, his team of defense lawyers, and just moments now, the verdict will be read in this case. And right now, though, Doug, stand by. Let's go out to Fox 32 in Chicago for their continuing coverage of this story as well.
About how they feel about this case, that it was just 9 hours?
I don't think so, because even though it was just 9 hours, that's maybe one full day of deliberations, and the trial was a week-long trial. There were a lot of videos played, a lot of testimony from police who interviewed witnesses, the key witnesses themselves, including Jussie Smollett. So I don't think it's unusual, and you can't tell much by the fact they came back within 9.5 hours or so.
So, Lair, as you've been describing and explaining this case to us, it's possible the actor could face up to 3 years in prison, but isn't the general sense that he's more likely to have probation if in fact it goes that way?
If he's treated like other defendants at 26th in California and in other courthouses around the state of Illinois, a first-time offender who has behaved himself, has shown up for all of his court hearings, never jumped bond or disappeared, and doesn't pose any sort of threat, typically would get probation after a crime like this if he is convicted. And, you know, it's always the tensest moment of all when the verdict is about to be announced, but it's an awful lot more tense when the defendant is facing years or decades in jail. In this case, it pretty much will be whether Jussie Smollett is convicted and gets a fairly light sentence or is set free and gets no sentence at all.
Can you tell us more, walk us back about the charges that he is facing?
Well, they're felony disorderly conduct charges, and each one involves an alleged lie that he told to Chicago police officers. It's kind of like obstruction of justice, but it's a lesser charge in Illinois. And in these cases, the prosecutors allege that in 6 different cases he lied to police, he manufactured that crime, and then he lied to police and denied manufacturing the crime. And it's basically, the case comes down to a he said, they said, because he says there was no manufactured crime, that he was honestly a victim, whereas the 2 Osendero brothers say that, in fact, they were put up to it and they were paid to commit the crime. His alleged motive was that he believed he had received a threatening letter, and his bosses, the Empire producers, had not taken the threats
Larry, let's
against
jump
his
in. Larry,
let's go.
Let me jump in. I think we've got some new information. The judge is in the courtroom. The jurors are there. Let's go to Dane Placco and see if we have the verdict. Dane?
Yeah, I'm waiting on a text to come down from Casey Cronus, our Fox colleague who's up in the courtroom right now. Judge James Lynn walked into the courtroom about 3 minutes ago. The jury has been brought into the courtroom. Judge Lynn opened up by telling everybody to control their emotions regardless of the verdict. And it sounds as though the verdict is being read at this moment. Again, 6 counts of felony disorderly conduct. It's likely they will go through the verdicts on each of those counts. Count 1, count 2, count 1 guilty. Jussie Smollett guilty of felony disorderly conduct on count 1. And that is just coming down now from the 7th floor of the criminal courthouse. We'll have to hear what his reaction is to that later. We know that he's been fairly stoic during the trial. He looked very stoic as he walked in here just moments ago. But again, count 1, guilty. Jussie Smollett guilty, and I'm getting another text, count 2 guilty as well. So at least 2 of the 6 counts right now, Jussie Smollett has been found guilty of disorderly conduct, but it's a felony disorderly conduct, and as Larry was just explaining, that does carry a potentially longer prison term of possibly 3 years in prison, although most of the attorneys we talk to say that's not likely. Count 3, guilty again. So on half the counts now, Jussie Smollett has been found guilty, and we're loading up another count right now. Again, Casey Cronus, our new colleague from Fox 32, just joined the station last week, is up in the courtroom on one of the benches. It's an older courtroom, a large courtroom, but capacity very limited up there because of COVID, only 57 people allowed. And we should be getting a 4th count verdict here in just a couple of moments. Count 4, guilty. So again, 4 of the 6 counts so far against Jussie Smollett, he has been found guilty. And it's likely, if I may surmise, that there'll be guilty counts on 5 and 6 as well, because as Larry was saying just moments ago, these counts are all pretty much alike. They're essentially 6 counts for the same crime. And I can say, I don't have to say alleged crime now, I can say crime. Count 5, yes indeed, guilty. They're all the same crime, and that is for lying to a Chicago police officer. There were 3 separate occasions in which he was interviewed by police. Each of those occasions he spoke to 2 officers, and so the way that Dan Webb, the special prosecutor, formulated his case was to charge 2 counts for each of those interactions with police. And now we're loading up the 6th count here. And let me tell you what it's going to be. Again, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 guilty, and count 6 not guilty. Well, that's a bit of a surprise. So he's guilty on 5 counts and not guilty on a 6th count. However, it's a big win for the special prosecutor's office because they only needed 1 guilty count. They could have been not guilty on 5 counts and guilty on 1, and guilty on 5 is essentially the same thing. So again, Jussie Smollett just found guilty on 5 of the 6 felony disorderly conduct charges he faced in this trial that took about a week and a half here at the Layton Criminal Courthouse.